Sara is the only person that rock chose to authorize to write his story. And I have to ask you, I guess the main thing that occurs to me, and maybe to a lot of you too, why do we take a star and we build them up, and then we turn around and we kind of refuse to accept their lifestyle? We kind of say, okay, you're our idol and you're as big as you can get, but we don't really want to know what you're really like. We don't want you to do any of the things you really want to do.
I think we have a love-hate affair with our stars. You know, we love them and we want them to be perfect, but at the same time we want to know that they're not. We want to know that being a star doesn't excuse them from all the pains that the rest of us have to go through.
Sara, is it the public that wants to... Everyone who's ever reached the top has said they're trying to tear me down. Is it the public that tears people down, or isn't it the press that tears people down?
The press loves to do this. They build the stars up and then they knock them down because it makes copy. And you know, Rock lived his whole life in fear that this double life that he led was going to be exposed and that he would be shunned and humiliated by the public. And he kept that secret all his life, up until the very end. And when it was finally revealed, I think it's marvelous, and Rock was stunned. Instead of being scorned and humiliated, he received an outpouring of warmth and support and encouragement from the public. He got 30,000 letters in 2 weeks from people all over the world saying basically, we don't care about your private life, that's your own business. We love you and are praying for you.
Is anybody in the audience feel when they heard that he was gay that they hated him for it, or that they never, they're sorry they loved him, or did you?
That's not what I despised him for. I despised him because he married that lady and destroyed her life. He used her to shield the fact that he was gay. And that's the only thing that I can say that was despicable about Rock Hudson. Also, I was going to say something else. Oh, I heard that Jim Nabors was one of his lovers. Is that true?
Not true at all. And you know, when I started writing this book, that's the first question everybody said. What about Jim Nabors? It wasn't true. A group of gay men in a small beach community in Los Angeles used to have a party every year with a funny theme. And one year they drew up invitations that said, come to the wedding of Rock Hudson and Jim Nabors. And it fell into the hands of a gossip columnist who printed it. And from then on, no matter what Rock and Jim said, no matter how much they denied it, everybody's convinced that that wedding took place. I want to address something you raised earlier, though, about why you didn't like him for marrying Phyllis Gates. We don't know that he didn't love her. He told many of his friends that he truly loved her and that he was very unhappy when the marriage broke up. People who saw them at the time said they were talking baby talk and they were all over each other. The interesting thing to me is that his wife herself isn't sure what the truth is. When I spoke to her, she said, I thought we were madly in love. I thought our marriage started with good intentions. It's only recently that I heard this rumor that my marriage was arranged, and I wish I could find out what the truth was.
A lot of people say, I just want to fill those of you in who might not be following it, that the studios didn't want people to know he was gay, so they arranged a marriage with a woman. But there were some articles saying that she hated him now, that she really thinks that he was an awful person, that he lied all the time. Is that true?
Well, what she told me was that she felt very bitter now because she said, now I'm not sure what the truth was. But she doesn't know for sure, which to me is fascinating.
We were talking about the press exposing stars earlier. Could you tell me why, or give me some insight, why the press protected Rock Hudson's gay lifestyle and why it continues to protect the lifestyles of other stars such as James Dean and Valentino, who are long dead, and it doesn't seem that it would make any difference?
There was a gentleman's agreement between the press and Rock that they would never talk about his sexuality. If anyone had an interview, they said, don't go into his private life, it's off limits. And the reason that the press respected it for so long was that the press needs the stars. They have it, they need each other. If they were to kill him off and they felt that disclosing that he was gay would have been the end of his career, then, there's one less star for them to write about. And also, no other stars would then talk to them. One entertainment reporter said to me, if I told the truth, if I told what I really know about all these stars, I could be the hottest journalist in America for 6 months. And then I'd be out of a job because none of them would talk to me.
Sara, are there a lot of Hollywood stars, male Hollywood stars, or female, today who are gay?
A lot.
A lot. And we don't know that that's...
Nobody knows. I've been working on this for 7 months, and I still, every day, hear about a new one. There are many, many gay actors and actresses. But not every one of them is afraid to be the first to come out and be open because they feel that the public would not accept it. It doesn't make sense. I'd like to ask all the audience, how would you feel if you think of your favorite actor or actress, the one who makes your heart flutter when that person comes on the screen, you know, that starts the juices going and makes you feel all romantic and warm. If somebody said to you in real life that person's gay, most people say they would have difficulty after that imagining that person and seeing them in a romantic light, but I don't think this should be so.
Gee, I don't agree. It's kind of, if you admire somebody as an actor, we really wouldn't care whether he's gay or not, but if you're in love with them, then it matters.
I don't think the news destroyed Rock Hudson, Sarah. I think he destroyed himself because he was born the man and then he changed his own lifestyle to live. No man, see, genitals plays a big part in your life, and he wasn't strong enough to fight for what he was really stood for.
Rock didn't think he had a choice. He knew as early as 9 years old that he had feelings of attraction to other men. And he would tell you, I didn't choose to be this any more than I would choose to be tall or have dark hair. It's the way I am. And I think that it's unfortunate that we forced him by our intolerance to live this double life for so long because we couldn't accept his real nature.
Did he not have affairs with women?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that because actually he was bisexual. A lot of us think you're either gay or straight, and it's a black or white situation. And in fact, when Kinsey did his studies of male sexuality, he found that there's a continuum of sexuality among men, and that very few weren't being placed at one extreme, which is exclusively homosexual, or at the other, which is exclusively gay. Rock was somewhere around the 30 to 40% mark. He liked women, he enjoyed flirting with women, he occasionally had affairs, but all things being equal, he preferred to be with men.
I lived in a state about 20 or 25 years ago, and I learned through some of the people who worked at this particular place that Rock Hudson and other celebrities would fly in for these weekends and all. So I'm saying that I knew 25 or so years ago that he was that way. So when I would see him on television like McMillan and Wife or something, I would sit there and just wonder how he could play such a manly part when he was homosexual.
Did it change your feelings toward him?
Yes.
What Rock Hudson's job was as an actor, that's what happens between the screen and me and the audience. It's like your husband. You know, what happens between you and your husband is the feeling you get from him. And with Rock Hudson, that was his job. What happened with him and his wife and his affairs and everything had nothing to do with him as an actor, which is his job, that gave me the butterflies in my stomach.
So it doesn't, aren't affected by that.
I liked what he did to me on the screen. I liked his acting, which was his career.
And you don't care what he is, gay or not. Fair enough.
What about Doris Day?
A lady just asked, what about Doris Day? It's a good question. Rock adored Doris Day. He also adored Elizabeth Taylor, and he and Susan St. James had a wonderful relationship. She used to sit in his lap and cuddle while they were discussing scenes. And Susan told me, she said, I could hug Rock and get goosebumps. Yeah. There was nothing that told me I couldn't get all the way to home plate with him.
Hi. I get very angry when I watch programs where everybody is so judgmental. Mm-hmm. Rock Hudson was a person, and he lived his life the way he wanted to live it and was what was most comfortable for him. And that's the problem with a lot of people. Everybody tries to live their life as the next person wants them to live it. And that's not right. And it just makes me angry that they have these programs and everybody is judgmental. They don't like the way this person lives their life. And it just makes me angry. I think that's very unfair, not only to Rock Hudson, but to other people.
Do you think that he should have come out of the closet and said, well, now that I'm a big star, I have to tell everybody I'm gay? Would we have forgiven him for that? And then would he not have to live his life, live a lie? I worry about somebody having to live a lie.
I don't think that it was necessary to get forgiveness from other people, because that is the way he wanted to live his life.
Okay.
And that's what our country is all about.
We are going to, on the next section of our show, talk to Rock Hudson's butler, and also What about his gay life after he found out that he had AIDS?
I got 5 questions. Is that all right?
Could you just give us some of them?
Did Rock have an affair with Doris Day?
Wait. Did he have
Not that I know of.
Was his wife bisexual?
Some people I interviewed thought that she was, but she says that's not true.
And also, what was your relationship with him, and how long did you know him, and why did he choose you to write the book?
It was a fateful accident. I was in New York for one day last summer looking for a book, and his attorney was there looking for a writer. Our paths crossed, and it just seemed like immediately it was meant to be. I first met Rock on September 4th of 1985 at his house. He was perfectly lucid. His mind was not gone. He was downstairs in the kitchen in pajamas, chatting with friends, making jokes. We talked for about 45 minutes about why he wanted to do a book and what kind of book it was. I told him that I wasn't interested in doing a celebrity anecdote book. I wanted to tell something that would be truthful about his life, and he said, that's great, that's just what I want to do, because so much junk has been printed about me. It's time to set things straight.
You know, I don't care what Rock Hudson was or is. I liked him, and I think that he gave a lot of people wonderful times with his movies. His movies was great, and I didn't miss a one of them. And if I could see him some more, I would see some more of them.
Great.
I have something that's troubling me, Sarah, and that is that the morality, so many of you have expressed love for him, the morality of after he found out he had AIDS, after he knew that AIDS is a killer and is terminal. One, we've heard stories that he went to San Francisco and was sexually permissive with a ton of people, not telling them that he had AIDS. Is that a true story?
That's not true. He did go to San Francisco and went to gay bars, but that was long before he knew he had AIDS. That was in the late 70s. I heard all those rumors.
Okay.
I have no evidence that he was out sleeping with people after he had AIDS.
What about sleeping with his lover, Mark Christian?
Well, that's in litigation right now. Mark Christian claims that they continued to have sex. Rock told his closest friends the affair was over.
Oh, I see. But did he tell Mark that he had AIDS?
No, he didn't, as far as I know.
Okay. Did he tell Linda Evans when the kiss on Dynasty, when we think that it may be transmitted through saliva? I'm just wondering.
It's problematic. I agree with you. I have a lot of trouble with it myself. What I tried to do was understand what was going on with Rock. You see, he had a choice when he found out he had AIDS. He could stay in Paris where he would be treated with an experimental drug that might keep him alive, or he could do Dynasty. And he chose to do Dynasty. I think he preferred to work until he dropped than to stay on and to live and never work again.
But isn't it right morally when you have a disease that is a killer to tell people you're involved with, that you're kissing and that you're sleeping with, that you have this disease?
He didn't know when he agreed to do Dynasty that he was going to have to kiss Linda.
Could he not have not kissed Linda because it might have endangered her life?
Well, that's the question I asked. Why didn't he say, I have an infection in my mouth and I can't do this kiss, please change the script? Those closest to Rock say he didn't feel he could ask the producers to change the script. There were already rumors around that he had AIDS. If he had AIDS, he would never work again.
So he doesn't, in order to save his own career, the man allows a woman to kiss him? I mean, I just wonder.
Well, you know, there was no evidence, and there still is no evidence that the disease can be transmitted through kissing. It was reported that the AIDS virus had been found in saliva, but there was no evidence at all, and there still isn't, that anyone had caught the disease by kissing someone. Now, if it had been me, if I had been sitting there, I would have thought, gee, I got to tell her and let her make the choice. But, you know, Linda, interestingly enough, Linda Evans herself is not upset or angry about this. The whole public world was outraged. Why didn't he tell her? But Linda herself said that she understood that incredible desire to work.
We have on the telephone right now James Wright, and James was... Hi there, James.
Hello.
Yeah, Rock. You were Rock's butler for 8 years, right?
Yes, I was.
And we are sorry that you're not able to be with us in person, but we did want to talk to you on the phone, and
Yes.
Maybe to get some kind of a feeling of what he was... they say a butler knows a man best, right?
You're right.
And how do you feel about him, James?
Well, I thought he was a wonderful man, and kind and generous, and a loving, and a kind, generous heart. That's what he was.
Uh-huh. And what about the two men that he was involved with who were his supposedly long-running lovers?
Well, I know one was Mr. Clark, who was his publicist, who was a nice guy at the time he was here, you know, and up until the relationship ended, and then Mark Christian moved in.
What do you think about Mark Christian?
Well, I didn't care for him a bit. I could sort of see the type of person he was.
What kind of person did you think?
Well, he was sort of, you know, he had that look about him, a deceive look about him.
What kind of look?
Well, I'm out to sort of get for myself what I can get. That's the impression I got from him.
So you thought he was using her?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I really do think he was.
Are you still there at the house, too?
Yes, I am.
Is it for sale?
It's up for sale, and I'm here till the house sells, yes.
I see. Do you have anything about Rock that you would like to say to the public that perhaps they don't know about him, having lived with him for 8 years?
Well, just about, you know, how nice he was and kind and helpful he was to other people. You know, he was so giving. He had a lot of heart.
Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
What is the getting back to the double life that he had to live, what is the price that he had to pay for that double life?
That was the first question I asked everybody. What did it cost him to live with the constant fear that any moment his career would be over? And people looked at me like I was crazy. They said Rock was a happy, buoyant person. He wasn't neurotic or twisted or tortured. He led one life in public and one life in private. In public, he would be out dancing cheek to cheek with women and posing for photographs. And in private, he would say, I want to have a beauties party, have 50 beautiful young men waiting for me at the house when I come home from my tour.
Would you explain what that is? It went kind of fast, and there was a moan over here. Huh?
When he finished touring in Camelot, he told his secretary he wanted a beauties party when he came home, and his secretary invited 50 of the most beautiful men in California to come for a swimming party and barbecue. And when Rock walked in the door, there they were in swimsuits splashing around. It was like being at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion, only all the perfect-looking creatures were male. And
I have heard somebody describe him as a satyr, meaning a male nymphomaniac, somebody who desires sex to such an extent that he constantly needs a fresh supply. Is that? Did you find that in your book?
He had tremendous sexual energy. In his later years, he told people, I'm always thinking about sex. When I'm at a meeting, when I'm driving on the street, I'm always thinking about sex.
So, and he would have sex with young men how often?
I don't know. But friends of his said that he was capable of having sex a couple times a day with different people. I don't know that he actually did that, but he had tremendous sexual energy. They said when he walked in a room, you could feel the heat, the room filled with it.
His heat?
Bisexuality, to me, though, is so dishonest. I mean, I have more respect for a person if they say, yes, I am gay, and they admit that, and that is the way they are. Or if a person is heterosexual, okay. But bisexuality, it's as if I, as a heterosexual, were to go out and say, gee, she's pretty, I think I'll go flirt with her.
Well, in Rock's case, it was true. He actually did feel loving feelings, physical feelings for women, and had affairs with women. He was capable of doing both.
I was just wondering, did he know who the person was that gave him AIDS?
No. He said, why me? Nobody I know has AIDS. It's possible he might have gotten it from a heart transplant, a heart bypass operation he had at a hospital in West Hollywood where there was a large gay population.
But would you not say that this is a man who had slept with hundreds of men?
In his lifetime, yes.
So he could have also gotten it from one of the men.
Yes, but he doesn't know who. Nobody knows.
I understand that he had his signals for whenever, say, he was out in public to his lovers, like knock 3 times on the table, I love you, and stuff like that. Is that true?
Yes, he was very romantic, and he had one man that he lived with where they had a code, 1, 2, 3, and they would either knock 3 times on a table or he'd say 1, 2, 3 when he wanted to say I love you, but there were people around and he couldn't say I love you to his male friend.
How did you hear that?
I read it somewhere.
It's in my book.
We'll be right back. Sara has written a responsible book. She's generally a social historian, and the Rock Hudson part of the proceeds of the book go to AIDS, so you can buy the book if you would like to donate money to AIDS. It's called Rock Hudson, His Story. Rock Hudson and Sara Davidson. She did it in a record time, right?
7 months.
7 months in a record time. I just still, on behalf of all of us, thank you for doing this and for coming on the show. I just wonder why we cause people to live double lives? What is there in us that makes these demands? And you might want to just think about that till we come back to that.